It was the kind of gut-wrenching revelation that doesn't just sting, it tears through every layer of trust, loyalty, and shared history until all that's left are jagged fragments of a life you thought you understood. Triple H, Paul Levesque, to those who know him beyond the ring, had built his legacy on control, foresight, and the ability to outthink anyone who dared to challenge him. In the squared circle, he was the cerebral assassin, the man who plotted his victories several moves ahead like a grandmaster in a brutal, unforgiving game. In the boardroom, he was a visionary, shaping WWE's future through NXT and guiding the company through leadership storms that would have sunk lesser captains. At home, he was a husband and father, anchored to Stephanie McMahon, a woman whose name was as much a part of wrestling royalty as his own. Together, they were untouchable, or so the world believed. But the moment the truth hit, it didn't arrive as a whispered suspicion or a quiet confession in the dead of night. It came like a lightning strike, unexpected and merciless, ripping open a wound so deep that no sledgehammer could ever fix it. It began innocently enough, at least on the surface, with the WWE Network's production team assembling a deep-dive documentary on the Attitude Era, the wild, unpredictable time when wrestling blurred the lines between fiction and reality so perfectly that even insiders sometimes struggled to tell the difference. As they sifted through old interviews, dusty storage crates, and hours of unaired footage, they stumbled upon a segment that had never seen the light of day, an uncut, unfiltered interview with Stephanie McMahon herself. She spoke about the early 2000s love triangle storyline with Triple H and Kurt Angle, a plotline that, at the time, was seen as harmless kayfabe drama designed to draw ratings. But in this unearthed clip, her demeanor shifted. She paused, eyes darting downward, her voice catching for a moment before she said quietly, almost as if to herself, there was more truth in that story than anyone knew. That single sentence set off a chain reaction that would unravel not only her marriage but the stability of WWE itself. Within days, whispers turned into investigations. Digging through archival materials unearthed more than nostalgia, it uncovered personal emails, handwritten notes, and unreleased behind-the-scenes footage from 2001, where Stephanie and Kurt's interactions were unmistakably intimate. At first, some brushed it off as the kind of emotional closeness forged in the chaos of wrestling's golden era. But then came the confirmation from a former WWE diva, who admitted flatly that the relationship had been real, and that it had been more than friendship. The cruelest twist was that Triple H didn't get the chance to hear this from his wife's lips in the privacy of their home. Instead, he saw it explode online with the rest of the world. Leaked photos appeared first, Stephanie and Kurt hand in hand on a beach in Malibu, a stolen kiss backstage at SmackDown, moments that could not be explained away as publicity shots. Then came the envelope, delivered to his office without warning, unmarked except for his name typed in bold, Paul Levesque. Inside were 5 photographs and a flash drive. The photos alone were enough to make his pulse thunder in his ears, but the video on the flash drive was the death blow. Dated August 2011, it showed Stephanie in a hotel room with Kurt Angle, the two of them sharing wine and quiet conversation that shifted from casual to intimate in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. The kiss was deep, deliberate, and what came after cut like a knife. Stephanie's voice, soft but clear, saying, "I wish we could be public, but Paul can never know." In that moment, the man who had taken sledgehammers to opponents, who had stared down The Undertaker inside hell in a cell, felt a pain far greater than any physical punishment the wrestling business had ever dealt him. He sat in silence, his hands trembling, the weight of the betrayal pressing down until it was hard to breathe. For 9 hours, he locked himself away in his office, missing meetings, ignoring calls, even those from Shawn Michaels, his closest friend and ally. When he finally emerged, there was no announcement, no confrontation, just a quiet exit from Titan Towers, his head down, his presence suddenly ghost-like. The shockwaves rippled instantly through WWE. Backstage, the mood shifted from the usual controlled chaos to something colder, heavier. Superstars whispered in private huddles, some openly siding with Triple H, others keeping their loyalties to Stephanie out of fear or politics. Seth Rollins was said to have had a tense exchange with Stephanie after a production meeting, while Shawn Michaels was spotted being consoled by Bayley. Roman Reigns, normally a fortress of bloodline-focused silence, was overheard telling someone, "This ain't just a storyline. That's personal." Vince McMahon, who had weathered countless PR storms, was reportedly furious, not because of the affair itself, but because it made the McMahon name look weak, exposed, and vulnerable. Sponsors began asking questions. WWE stock slipped. The board demanded answers. Behind closed doors, Vince's anger was volcanic, sources saying he shouted at Stephanie, at the PR team, even at senior executives who had nothing to do with the scandal. And then Kurt Angle broke the silence. Sitting before his phone camera, his face unshaven, eyes bloodshot, voice trembling, he admitted what many already suspected. The connection was real, he said. It wasn't supposed to happen, and it was wrong. But feelings don't follow rules. The words detonated in the court of public opinion, and Triple H's reaction, according to insiders, was violent. He smashed a mirror in his office after watching it. Fans dug into every frame of Kurt and Stephanie's on-screen history, dissecting body language and unscripted moments, convinced they had been watching a real romance play out in plain sight for years. Stephanie, meanwhile, vanished from the public eye, her PR team issuing a brief statement that she was taking a private leave to focus on family. But her absence was deafening. Her office at WWE headquarters was cleared overnight. Triple H removed every family photo from his own. Chants of, "Angle stole her," and, "Where's Triple H?" echoed through live audiences at Raw and SmackDown. The locker room was a Cold War zone, with executives avoiding eye contact and even catering areas charged with tension. Kurt Angle, booked for a Legends segment, was booed during rehearsals. And as if the situation needed more fuel, just 3 nights ago Kurt was spotted entering Stephanie's private estate under the cover of darkness, a move that has left WWE insiders bracing for yet another seismic confrontation. What began as a buried chapter from wrestling's past has become a full-blown crisis, threatening not just the marriage of Triple H and Stephanie McMahon but the stability of WWE's leadership and the future of the company itself. And with Triple H's next move shrouded in silence, whether he will walk away from WWE entirely or return more dangerous than ever, the only certainty is that the aftershocks of this betrayal are far from over, and when the next one hits, it could change everything the wrestling world thought it knew. It was the kind of revelation that doesn't just hurt, it rewrites the entire history of a relationship, twisting every memory and shared moment into something bitter, jagged, and almost unrecognizable. Triple H, the man who built a career on calculated precision, who outsmarted rivals inside the ring and outmaneuvered threats in the boardroom, was blindsided in a way that left him not only heartbroken but hollow, betrayed on a level that even the most dramatic wrestling storylines could never truly capture. For years, Paul Levesque and Stephanie McMahon had been the power couple of WWE, surviving not only the grueling demands of running the most powerful wrestling company in the world but also the relentless travel, the constant public scrutiny, and the internal corporate politics that could destroy lesser partnerships. They were, to fans and industry insiders alike, unshakable. But the discovery that came crashing into Triple H's life was more than a crack in the foundation, it was an explosion that reduced everything to rubble. The truth didn't arrive as a whisper or an unconfirmed rumor. It came in the form of undeniable evidence, dredged up from the past like a ghost refusing to stay buried. A WWE Network documentary on the Attitude Era had sent production crews digging through archived interviews, candid backstage footage, and forgotten off-camera moments. It was during this process that an uncut segment emerged, Stephanie McMahon speaking emotionally about the infamous early 2000s love triangle storyline between herself, Triple H, and Kurt Angle. But this wasn't just nostalgia or playful reflection. A production assistant, now gone from the project, revealed that Stephanie paused mid-interview, her voice faltering, before she whispered words that would light a fuse. There was more truth in that story than anyone knew. From there, the floodgates burst. Digging into old files turned up private emails, handwritten letters, and even unreleased travel footage from 2001, all pointing toward a relationship between Stephanie and Kurt that went far beyond scripted television. While some dismissed it as emotionally charged but harmless, others, especially a former WWE diva, confirmed that their connection had been real, intimate, and very much alive during that time. The most brutal twist was that Triple H didn't learn about it in private, behind closed doors where explanations and context could be shared. He learned about it like the rest of the world, through a leak that went viral online. Photos of Stephanie and Kurt holding hands in public, a kiss backstage at a SmackDown taping, romantic notes, all surfaced at once. And then came the video. On a flash drive tucked inside an anonymous envelope, dated August 2011, it showed Stephanie in a hotel room, sharing wine and quiet conversation with Kurt Angle, laughter turning to a kiss, a lingering touch, and the gut punch line that would play on a loop in Triple H's mind: "I wish we could be public, but Paul can never know." Watching it, his hands shook, his breathing stalled, and the man who had faced The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell felt a pain deeper than any steel chair could deliver. He locked himself in his office for 9 hours, skipped meetings, and walked out of Titan Towers without a word, his head low, the fire in his eyes replaced with something far colder. Backstage, the fallout was immediate. Superstars whispered in corners, picking sides, some refusing to look Stephanie in the eye, others expressing open loyalty to Triple H. The corporate atmosphere thickened with tension. Seth Rollins was rumored to have clashed verbally with Stephanie after a production meeting. Shawn Michaels, normally a steadying presence, was seen visibly shaken. Roman Reigns summed up the mood in one blunt statement backstage: "This ain't just a storyline. This is personal." Vince McMahon, ever the calculated strategist, wasn't enraged by the affair itself so much as the vulnerability it exposed in the McMahon brand. Sponsors began pressing for answers, stock prices dipped, and the board demanded updates. According to insiders, Vince's fury erupted behind closed doors, berating everyone from Stephanie to the PR team. But if anyone thought this might simply fade into silence, Kurt Angle ended that hope. Breaking his days-long quiet, he released a raw Instagram video, voice cracking, eyes red, admitting that the connection with Stephanie had been real, that it went beyond the ring, and that it was wrong. "Feelings don't follow rules," he said, and with that, poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Triple H reportedly shattered a mirror in his office after seeing the confession. Fans dug up every segment from the Attitude Era, every glance, every unscripted laugh between Kurt and Stephanie, slowing down old clips and analyzing them for proof that the on-screen romance had always been real. Stephanie, for her part, vanished from public view, taking a private leave, according to a brief PR statement, but the silence spoke volumes. Her office at WWE headquarters was quietly cleared, and Triple H removed every family photograph from his own. Raw crowds began chanting, "Angle stole her," and "Where's Triple H?" During live broadcasts, locker room morale plummeted as if a civil war had erupted within WWE's own walls. And just when it seemed like the scandal had reached its peak, a new shockwave hit. Kurt Angle was seen entering Stephanie McMahon's private estate late at night only 3 days ago, a visit that has left insiders bracing for yet another explosion. This is no longer a simple personal betrayal. It has become a full-scale power crisis threatening the very structure of WWE's leadership and legacy, And with Triple H now teetering between silence and a complete departure from the company, the question isn't just whether his marriage can survive, but whether WWE itself can withstand the aftershocks still to come.